Hello everyone, this is Mini Ninja speaking. For today's episode, we're going to be looking at something a bit weird here that came in the mail not that long ago. And that's going to be the Superman IV figure. Yes, that's the name they decided to go with for this one. Which, as you can kind of guess, is an unofficial third-party Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Now, this particular figure has been brought to us by Class E Adventurer / EXS, which, if you're not familiar with that particular group name, I can't blame you, because aside from maybe some odd accessory packs here and there, frankly, I'm drawing a whole blank on that one myself on this particular case. Speaking of just general confusion, I'm equally confused by the packaging here, because as you might notice by all the mentionings of demoniacal fit, and basically word for word at verbatim, they copy this text from another figure entirely, being the True Believer, aka the copied version of the Zamasu figure, that actually we did a review on the channel not too long ago. So yeah, we're already off to a really weird start to this particular review. But let's be honest, it's the actual contents of the box that everyone is going to be the most interested in. So as you can kind of see from everything in the clamshell here, it is a bit of a standard Vegeta packaging with quite a few faces, his standard set of hands, and some really awkward looking effect pieces. And a little stand to go with that. Going to the main figure itself, he stands at a little shy of 6.5 inches tall, which is about appropriate height for your general SH Figuarts line, but maybe a little tall for Vegeta, but we'll go on that a little bit later. In terms of general handling and presentation, aside from, I'm going to be quite frank, a little bit of a heavy-handed shading on especially the chest and some of the pants here and there, he's actually not too bad. It's maybe a slight gloss finish of parts, namely the kind of hairy upper body and such, but overall not too shabby. His joints, if anything, all very functional. Basically, your butterfly joints, Mujirosu, the hips and your action body stuff tend to work pretty fine. If anything, they're a bit stiff. But if that's the worst complaint I've had as of late, well, we're having a much better time, if anything. Maybe you want to just kind of heat this up in some hot water, and maybe a little bit of silicone oil here and there might either fix a few things, but otherwise, we're not doing too bad. That being said, his ankle joints, just because of the way the thing's been sculpted, are a bit rubbish, more so than even regular Vegeta figures, and as you can kind of see from the tail here, the tail's motion is a bit limited. Going back to the ankles for a quick second, it is worth noting that it does make the figure a little hard to stand overall, even more so than your kind of bog standard Vegeta figure, which honestly they have a bit of trouble, especially if you don't pull out the ankles a bit. And as you might have noticed around the torso, oddly enough, there is kind of a red fuzz in the middle of the abdomen area if you pull the figure and lean him too far back, which is very strange because that's supposed to be a clean-shaven part, if you recall how the design works. That being said, aside from that and some oddly kind of odd scuffed paint marks that did come off with some subsequent washing on that cuff there, the left, his right arm, overall, not too bad in terms of presentation marks. Now, here we have Vegeta lined up with both an official figure, the Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, as well as the Magic Vegeta on the far end, and a third-party Kong Studio Blue Vegeta, or whatever they wanted to call it this, because I think it's just a custom Vegeta is what they kind of gave it there. As you can kind of see, he is indeed standing a little bit taller than all of them, which depending on how you kind of lean him towards, especially with how they present him in GT, where you apparently grew in height as you did this transformation, it keeps him pretty much in line. Also, I need to kind of adjust something from my previous assumption. I thought that it had basically copied the sculpt from one to the other here, but I'm putting aside to show that it is indeed more of a unique sculpt, with missing nipples in this case, along with some other bits in the upper body, so you can tell it is indeed a unique thing. Moving to the face plates here, as you can kind of see, it's actually pretty neatly handled. Maybe the eyes are a little small or a little narrow in parts, depending on your face there, but all in all, not too bad. Clean paint applications for the hair all around. Maybe the casting on the back being a bit messy, but it's functional. And same thing with the hands. They're honestly your bog standard Vegeta hands for the most part. Your kind of grabby hands, open palm blasting, if I can speak English correctly today, and your general martial arts hands, or aside from a few issues, odd bits casting here and there, and maybe some lines you could kind of clean up from the casting, generally they're very functional, I find. If anything, maybe the plastic is a bit shiny. In terms of the effect pieces, though, these are actually quite liberally stolen or borrowed, however you want to call it, from the Figurized Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta kit. I believe one of these are actually supposed to be just a general energy ball, and the other one is supposed to be the final shine off the top of my head. In terms of how they look compared to the original, I can't tell you as I don't have the original model kit, but they honestly look pretty silly in terms of what you normally expect from a kind of a figure art style effect. Kind of loosely detailed, feel very flimsy, can't recommend too much. As we kind of hear, proof of concept of switching the faces. It is worth noting using the stand in the back because the figure is hard to stand, but in terms of how the faces and such change, those change without too much problem in this case, pretty easy to swap back and forth. And the hands actually switch particularly easily, a nice clean pop on and pop off, so it's actually really nice there. Actually quite easy to do. Nice pleasant change on that. Now here's what it looks like when you put those effects on the provided stand. Honestly, the stand does work, but these effects, once again, they're not much to look at, to be honest. We'll put the other one on there just for proof of concept. There is a hole near the bottom there. And it's just kind of a weird, awkward height in terms of having the effect bit in there. It's functional, but I'm not sure when you would be using this thing, to be totally frank. So I would probably say, if you're going to be using these effect pieces for anything, probably do what I'm about to suggest here, and pick a regular kind of action stand, and that way you can kind of use them for more dramatic poses, as well as adjust the height. Well, I believe, as you can kind of guess from the general gist of it, I am actually pleasantly surprised with this particular toy. My general complaints tend to be pretty minor, namely the effect bits being a bit of a throwaway, as they were basically copied straight from the figurized stuff, and certain nitpicks here and there about the sculpting choices, like around the pants, and a little bit of the paint application, particularly on the chest being a little too heavy for my tastes. But all in all, the figure actually is a pretty solid build. In terms of detailing and such, it does match up with what you would expect out of a proper SH Figuarts figure, and all in all, I'd actually go as far to say as this would probably be a reasonable fit-in until an official Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta figure does eventually show up, because considering how the Super Saiyan 4 Goku sold, that will absolutely be a thing in the future. However, if you want something for the now, this is certainly fair price enough that you can certainly do that. I'm actually kind of curious. How many of you might have been on the fence on whether to pick this thing up or not, but couldn't tell because of how bad the original sales photos were? If you got a moment to comment, that'd be seriously appreciated. Thanks, and take care.